Lost Art of Fishing Stories, written by Andrew Cox. Get your copy today. Go to Amazon and search The Lost Art of Fishing Stories. The Lost Art Project, Veteran Voices with Andrew Cox. Preserving history, one veteran story at a time. Marine Corps League and Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast that's given a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art Project, Veteran Voices with Andrew Cox.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Project, Veterans Voices. Today we're having a fireside chat. Oh my goodness, it's going to be good. I can't wait. I think everyone out there is going to love it. And if you're an officer, or even if you're enlisted out there and you're ready to move on and you want to become an officer, maybe you want to make it up to the general ranks. I know a guy. He can tell you what to do. He can slap you around, whatever it takes. So anyways, we'll get into that in a minute. If you're enjoying these podcasts, and make sure you go to the website. That's thelostart.podbean.com. Go check us out, see what we're all about. There are a couple ways you can help support us here. You can go to that website, click on that one-time donation link. You can also become a patron. That's a monthly donation. Or you can just go get you some cool merchandise, because there is some cool merchandise out there. Or, you could advertise right here on the podcast as well. A big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project out there doing amazing things. I'm telling you, I tell you every single time, go check them out. See what they're doing. If there's any way you can help them, please do so. That's tillvalhallaproject.com. Are you a Marine veteran? Are you missing that bond you had on active duty? Then I have a place for you. Join the only congressionally chartered Marine Corps Veteran Service Organization, the Marine Corps League. Get that brother and sisterhood back in your life. Become one of the fewer, the prouder, a Marine Corps League member. As always, we're going to go around the country. Oh man, here we are. We got the crew here, and we got our special guest. And when I say special, I got to meet this individual. 2nd Marine Division Band is where I was at. He was the CO for 6th Marine Regiment at the time, and I met him, and I just fell in love with the guy right away. But this is Major General retired Ryan Heritage. How you doing?
Good, AJ. Gentlemen, how are you?
Standing, sir.
Good to see you.
So tell us, what you're in DC. So what's the weather like? What's going on there? Is it anything good?
Yeah, it's Washington DC. It's really quiet. Sun, not really. So weather is changing. Obviously, I'm probably about 15 minutes from the metro station in Chinatown. So really in the heart of it. Now that I'm retired, walk my dog about 10 miles a day all throughout DC. And,
nice.
Making sure I stay in my hike in shape.
Right.
The weather's changing. Staying apolitical.
We should have the blossom soon, yeah?
Yeah. I think past. Past.
Did it?
Yep, for sure. But there's a lot going on. There's things down at the mall all the time. So the city is alive and well, for sure.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I'm excited to have you here. I can't wait to get into some cool discussions with you. So thanks for coming on. I said this to you earlier, but you're the first general officer that I've had come on the podcast. So, this is going to be good times.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite and the opportunity. So one of my messages will be if I can be a resource to anybody, pay it forward. Hopefully they'll reach out.
I like it. A positive attitude, it'll take you a long ways, and it took you a long ways. Positive attitude, Major General, that's pretty good.
Yeah, thanks. Somebody once called it good playground skills.
That's good. I like that. All right, Mark, how's things out there on the West Coast?
Well, of course, except for the politics, politicians, and prices, this is a virtual nirvana.
Very nice. Has the shutdown affected you guys over there any?
The only thing hasn't really affected us yet besides at Wounded Warrior Project, I'm in the financial readiness program. So we are just getting a lot of calls about concerns of what's going to happen if I miss my pay, if I don't get paid and I start missing payments, everything like that. So, that's the only way it's really affected us so far.
Yeah, I imagine
besides travel, besides our, our Wounded Warrior Project staff traveling around the country and stuff like that.
Yeah,
getting delays here and there.
Very nice. All right. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. We'll go down, Mike. Mike, you, I started without introducing you to the general up there. I apologize. We hit the go button before we got to it. But Mike, there's General Heritage. General Heritage. There's Mike McNanny. He is on.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Mike, how are things, man?
We're doing good here in Southwest Georgia.
Yeah,
starting to cool down a little bit. It's unheard of. It's in I don't know what it's like for you up there in South Carolina, Vic, but it's like in the 70s all of a sudden. So
nice.
It's enjoying. It's probably not as nice as being up like in DC in that area where you can actually see, the fall or autumn, whatever you want to call it. You can actually see the changes, but doing good here. Busy week, just tired.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Oh yeah. I know. The working man, you got the working man blues over there,
Yeah, my wife was leaving for work tonight, and our garage door opener crapped the bed, so we usually use the garage door, come in and close it, but now we got to go out the front door. And she walked out and was going to her car, and she goes, "Now that it's cooled down outside, do you think you can cut the grass and do something out here?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll try to get it done. So
that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta love
she's not wrong. I've been using it as an excuse. So she's not wrong. I've gotten lazy. I hate to say it. But
it happens to everybody. It's okay. Especially in the heat. Don't even worry about it. Oh man.
Yeah, when it's 90-some degrees and like 80% humidity, I'm like, man, I ain't. Even if you get up at crack of dawn and you're out there at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, yep, I ain't doing it. Let me just push the lawnmower back in the garage here. I'm good.
Nice. All right, Vic, how you doing, man?
Good. South Carolina, we're in the low country down here. It's been raining a lot. It rained almost all day today and windy, and but it got up into the low 70s. So it's nice. It's starting to feel like fall a little bit. The rainy, gloomy weather a little bit. It's kind of weird though. All my perennials in my flower beds are starting to bloom again. It's I don't know what it is. It's weird. Let's see. Today's cigar is something brown. I think it's an Alec Bradley, which is general run of the mill. It's like a medium cigar, both in quality and in price. Alec Bradley is internationally distributed. They're one of the distributors of cigars that I say they make their cigars to offend the least amount of people. Kind of like Bud Light, So yeah, it's something Alec Bradley, I think. But we'll see how it goes. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Let's see. That is a void in the wrapper already. So it's yeah, we'll see how this one goes.
We're off to a good start.
Yeah, we're off to a good start.
Nice. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. Brian Roof has decided that's a Sergeant Motivator got out. He runs a podcast as well. But anyways, he's throwing out the crayons already. But he's one of the crayon eaters as well. So it's all good. Brian, I hope you're doing well. Now we'll move on. Jim, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Leisure's changing here in Knoxville and the surrounding mountains. It's beautiful. The weather's down to 73 today. It'll be down to 55 in the morning. So it's good.
You said 55 in the morning?
Yeah.
Woo. That's almost winter.
No,
that's crazy.
No, that's beautiful right there. That's what that is.
That's perfect weather.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I
was
love
at the Kansas concert last night. It was 65 degrees, and I was enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. You know, somebody has to enjoy it. If it wasn't you, it'd be somebody else. So, you know. All right. Well, I guess we can just jump into this. General, I'm curious a little bit about your career, and I would like to kind of walk through a little bit of it if you don't mind, and maybe give us some lessons learned, talk about either the people or the place, wherever you've been, and, you know, maybe help some of those young guys out there in ways to make it where you made it.
Sure. Again, AJ, first, good to see you, and thanks for the opportunity and the invite, and thanks to the new friends that I've met. So I appreciate it. Yeah. So born and raised primarily in Massachusetts. My dad started as my parents immigrated from England in the late 60s. He started off as a draftsman, and then got into coal industry, power companies, sort of energy companies. And so we moved around a little bit, Midwest out to California, and then back to Massachusetts. So consider myself a New Englander, and that's where we'll eventually settle down. So went to college at George Washington University here in DC. Then that's where I met my wife, coincidentally,
Oh, nice.
who happens also to be from Massachusetts. So met her. If you've got time, I can tell you where I got my first official counseling as a result of that relationship.
We got all the time in the world.
So that's another story. But yeah, so got commissioned coming out of George Washington. Went through the NROTC scholarship program. Earned a 2-year scholarship through there. It was a fascinating experience, and it was deliberate to join the unit. I didn't think I was mature enough for boot camp at the time. Still to this day, I can tell you where I was in the 4th grade, what month it was, watching Sansa Iwo Jima in the wintertime when I decided I want to be a Marine. And,
nice.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, that stuck with me.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, to the end. So that was my motivator, and
nice.
Tried to see it through. So yeah, I did the OCS, and then earned the commission. You know, then graduated, and then headed to the basic school, where infantry was what I wanted. Managed to get that, and then off to infantry officers course, which incredible training that I mean, when you think about, you know, the most well-trained platoon of Marines, like that group coming out of IOC each year is just something physically, really just insane. So no surprise I got in, but it made it from there, and then off to 3-8.
3-8, okay.
Yeah, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines was my first duty assignment. I checked in. I can't remember what day, but I checked in, you know, in alphas to the regimental commander. They said, hey, here's room to your BOQ. Come back in with your sea bag and camis the next day. And then 24 hours later, I was on a C-130 headed to Rota, Spain to meet up with the BLT that was out there on the plane.
Wow.
Commander.
Wow.
Yeah, and then and that was my entry. That was the introduction to the Marine Corps, right? And loved every minute of it. So that's how I met my first platoon. Was out there. I still can tell you, I think the most nervous I've been was that first going in front of that first rifle platoon and introducing yourself. That was an experience. I can still feel it today. From 3-8, did a couple deployments with them, and then off to MCRD San Diego for my B billet.
Okay.
Series commander and company commander.
Nice
roles there with 3rd Battalion and then Support Battalion. Then selected for was AWS, so Amphibious Warfare School back then. Attended that. Came out of there and went to 3rd Battalion 2nd Marines, where started off as headquarters service company. Then I picked up rifle company, and then eventually the 3. We've been
That was all as a captain doing that?
Yes, captain. Yeah, 3-2. I have to go back. Yes, and then slated and then selected for major while I was out there. And then from there, I think I get that right. Command and staff, and 3-2. I think I got that right. Yeah, and then to 3-2, and then from 3-2 command and staff. Yeah, I think I got that right. And then following that, I did a tour as the operations officer for, if you remember, Marine Corps Institute, part of the Marine Barracks, Washington. Remember the non-resident course? So I was
that's right. Yeah,
I was operations officer there, and then did the parade commander for a couple of years coming out of there, and then slated for school again. This time was back down to this time was command and staff, and then from command and staff went to Southern Command, which was unusual. I can tell you, I had no idea where Southern Command was. Somebody says, "You going to Miami?" I'm like, "Okay, that's pretty interesting." But went down to Miami. Was there for a couple of years as a planner in their future ops section. Very unique experience. And then from there to the U.S. Army War Call, or slated for command of weapons train battalion at Lejeune. Was there at the time when MARSOC was just standing up and just starting to build out there on the ranges. And so that was pretty cool watching that happen. And then from there to 2MEF, out of command, 2MEF as the current operations officer, and then deployed, and then TLS top level school coming out of there at U.S. Army War College.
Real quick, what is TLS? You said TLS?
Yeah, sorry, top level school. So for lieutenant colonels, 05s.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, and from there, then we headed to Okinawa, and there was the current operations officer in Okinawa.
Nice.
We had been there for about 2 months, and the 06 command list came out. Slated for command, and surprisingly, luckily, and all that, I got selected for command. And so 11 months later, came back. So we did not unpack entirely, and then took command of 6 Marines, and then probably about 2/3 of the way through the tour, I got a call from then Brigadier General Vince Stewart, who retired as Lieutenant General and unfortunately passed away way too early. Significant mentor for so many of us, but he was an incredible mentor. He's the one who brought me up into the Fort Meade area, into the cyber community. And there's admittedly some kicking and screaming from River Road up to Fort Meade. But that was my entry into the cyber domain, so to speak, and thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. Incredibly dynamic. So did that with General Stewart as a commanding general, and then he turned over. General O'Donoghue took it over. He was CG for First Mardiv. He went on to be CG for First Mardiv, and then he also retired as Lieutenant General. Then I went to the Pentagon for a year into programs and resources, working for some fantastic leaders. And then one day I got a call from the ACMEC, who said I'd been selected for Brigadier General. And after the assignment there, headed back to Fort Meade to Cyber Command, where I became the Deputy Director for Future Ops for 2 years. Some of the hardest 2 years of my life in terms of work. We literally, me and my battle buddies, other 1-stars, literally slept in the office. It was at the sort of the height of the CT fight and the maturity for Cyber Command. So it was interesting watching develop and unfold. And so I had the offensive portfolio within the future ops section. From there, then got selected for 2 stars. From there got selected for command to MCRD San Diego and the Western Recruiting Region. Went out to San Diego again, but I, nobody ever wants to go to the north side of the parade deck where the general's house is at. You either going up there because you got duty or you're going to get fired. So now I was that guy, and went up there, and we just had an incredible time there. The Marines, civilians, contractors, Navy, Marine. It was just really, really, really enjoyed the tour there. Really tight, and I was there as probably a year into it. Mark, you remember when COVID hit?
Oh yeah,
I can remember being on a plane. I think we were headed to go visit one of the recruiting stations, and I saw it on the news, and I sent an email back to my 3 and said, "Hey, are you seeing this?" And it was just starting to spread and start to come out to the U.S. sort of thing, starting to be reported. And I said, "Is anybody looking at this?" And by the time we got back, it started to really expand. And there was no playbook. We actually went back and used some, I think it was like 1911, 1913 pandemic. We started there. We had incredible support from the local community and the county medical officials, and met with countless number of epidemiologists and that sort of thing. Obviously, the Navy and the Marine Corps and Training Command and that. And then just went through trying to establish all the new processes that are associated with recruiting and recruit training without lowering the standards in and through a pandemic. So
that I was at Miramar when that happened, and I don't know how you were able to manage all of that craziness. It was just insane.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, I remember before masks came out, we were cutting up T-shirts, right? It was,
yeah.
And again, you were designing the playbook and as you went, with the guide, commander's intent, and you got to make mission. You got to protect the force, protect the families. But mission doesn't stop, and nor does the training. You still gotta get those young men into that transformation and make Marines and get them out to the fleet. So, and we had incredible support, learning about the quarantines and that. And, I can't imagine, being a recruit, you get recruited and you spend your first 2 weeks in this case, in a hotel room with somebody you haven't met, and you're there for 2 weeks, can't leave.
Oh, jeez.
You're PTing in the room. You're taking classes in the room just to keep, you're busy for 2 weeks. You're trying to stay in shape. The recruiters got you into, and then you come out of there after you've been tested multiple times. You come out of there, you go through another screening process onto the bus, and then onto the yellow footprints, and then it starts.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a unique experience for those that went through it back then. But
yeah, absolutely. I know Vic, his was it your nephew, Vic, that was going to Paris Island and had to stay in the hotel and stuff? You got to unmute, man.
Yeah, sorry. I was actually stationed at Paris Island at the time. I was the staff at CIC for the Paris Island Marine Band right when COVID hit. And then just a couple months later, my nephew came through, and same thing. He got stuck in a hotel for 2 weeks. His roommate slept the entire time. He just sat there and stared at the wall for 2 weeks. Sounds like we didn't do it as good as you guys did it, but it was an awful experience for him. He wound up having panic attacks because he was just doing nothing but staring at a wall for 2 weeks. And then when he finally got cleared to class up, Doc said, "You had all these panic attacks. You're done," and they dropped him. So, yeah. It wasn't a good experience for him. It was unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, we put the band was running a lot of the quarantine operations for us.
Yep.
We put the band to work, and hats off to San Diego. I mean, if we hadn't had incredible relationships with the city, we wouldn't have gotten the deals or the support that we did. But for them, it was an opportunity for to open a couple hotels, right? Because if you remember, everything had shut down, and so now we were putting, hundreds, thousands of recruits through the hotels, requiring that staff and that sort of thing, and then we just tried to make the best of it. So,
wow, that had to have been fun to deal with the city, and but San Diego does pretty well, at least from what I remember and what you were just saying. I'm sure Mark dealt with San Diego a lot, or still does, the city.
Oh, definitely. And I'm a part of the San Diego Military Advisory Council too. You probably remember that, General.
Yep.
And even in COVID, they have the statistics that the rest of the country during COVID had a financial downturn, all except San Diego. Because of the large military force and everything that was still going on and everything, that they did not have a financial downturn.
I mean, I thought the military civilian relationship in San Diego was as strong there as anywhere I'd been. I thought it was an example.
Totally.
For others.
I believe that.
Yeah. So then left San Diego, headed back to Fort Meade. I think that was my third tour there, and picked up command of Marine Forces Cyberspace Command. So the Marine component to U.S. Cyber Command, and then stood up and expanded Marine Forces Space Command. So the Marine component to Space Command, which was headquartered in Colorado.
Right.
And then shortly thereafter, we stood up a third command, the Marine Corps Information Command. So three commands, somewhat three different staffs, though obviously a lot of integration. And the intent there was to really, under one commanding general, as opposed to someone sort of in a higher level staff, is to take those capabilities, platforms, people, authorities, and be able to integrate all of those at speed, at scale, in support of the Marine Corps and the Joint Force. And so did that for almost 3 years. And
now, were you a Major General at that time? Like when
Major
you left
General at that time.
Yeah.
Yep, I was selected there. So Major General at that time, did that for almost 3 years. And then I was one of the ones held up in the Tuberville sort of hold on commission on nominations and that sort of thing.
Oh,
so
right, yeah.
Yep. So I stayed at a 2-star and was going to stay in the Joint Force, and so originally was going to go over and be the Chief of Staff at U.S. Cyber Command, which is also at Fort Meade. And they were moving some folks, and they offered up Director of Operations, so the J3, which I of course jumped on. And did that for just over a year, and then had some things going on, so it was time for us to go, and just retired effective 31 May of this year. So
that wasn't long ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So
like I said, incredible career. You've been all over the place, done all kinds of stuff. Let's talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, tell us some lessons learned along the way. Sure. Maybe start like as you're junior and as you're working your way through your career, what were some lessons learned?
So I thought about this a little bit, sort of in the prep, and what I kept coming back to is the mentoring piece. And I know at one time we had the assigned, if you recall, assigned mentors. That worked for me for about 30 seconds. I understood the intent, but if the mentor and the mentee don't have something in common other than you were told to be here, and it just didn't work. So I would say my mentors have been primarily that senior staff NCO has been the first person at every echelon, at every command. Every now and then I still talk to my first platoon sergeant, who's he retired coming. I think he was at Holy Cross. He was at NROTC.
Oh wow,
There, but they were I mean, they were instrumental. But I think you have to go with the right attitude, right? You have to be willing to listen, and learn. And then from there, it was, then as the NCOs, and I thought that was more of a give and take, because I thought I could, that was an opportunity for me to learn and to teach, as I continued to grow and develop. And then, as you go up, and I used to tell each of my sergeant majors, and I've had some phenomenal sergeant majors, just unbelievable, and master guns. The ops chiefs, I remember folks when they talked about putting a master gunner sergeant as an ops chief into infantry battalion. So I was there when that kicked off, right? And everybody's like, you're going to have 2 E9s. As, like we should be scared. We should be celebrating. You had 2 E9s in there for the lessons they could give. But if you didn't have, for me as a commander, if I ever gave off the impression that my door was closed to them, then I'd messed it up. But it was always an open door, and I could tell when I was about to be counseled. Sergeant Major would close the door, and I was like, okay, I screwed this up. But at 6th Marines, I used to call it hallway mentoring. And in the regimental headquarters, right before you enter the CO's hatch, he had a sort of the bar style doors that open up.
Yeah. At
the end of each day before we went home, me and the sergeant major would just sit there in the hallway, because you had all the former COs and sergeant majors' pictures there. I mean, you got folks like Colonel Livingston right in there. Yeah. I mean, so you can just feel his presence. But you would just sit there and listen. And then, when I could, I'd interject. But I thought mentoring was happening all the time. But I think some of those basics of, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, those hold true. I did not mind, the what do they come up with, command climate surveys. I didn't, one more survey, right? I get that, but for me, it was always a check on, was I communicating enough? Was I communicating effectively? We over communicated during COVID, absolutely, and that was a lesson, right? You want to instill trust in somebody. It's got to be transparent, and you got to communicate, right? Just in any sort of relationship. And so, and I think those are some of the basics. I've had some. I'll say some. I've had quite a few of the officer mentors, but to be honest, nobody sort of blowing up my phone. But I talked to several sergeant majors and master guns. Some are still in, some retired, or just call and check in, say how you doing, or I call and text them and check in. I still talk with people who question social media, but if not for social media, I wouldn't be connected with some of the Marines from 81's platoon. We still get together from time to time. Several of them came to my retirement, and that was just phenomenal. So and I was thinking about writing a book, and the title was going to be "Don't Be a." You can fill in from there. And I didn't quote. I didn't come up with that phrase, so I'd have to go to the individual who I first heard it from. But I think you can uphold standards, discipline, through example, right? I don't.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you need the hands-on. I like to think I stopped yelling when I was a major, because there was, when you needed that, other people were doing that for you, right? And if you had that's why you got a good sergeant major or master guns. They take care of that, or the XO. But it just wasn't. I just found naturally and through billet and assignment that was it's time for me to sort of grow up and move on to the next stage. So
I'd say that's pretty normal, even in the staff and CO ranks to a certain degree. Now maybe not the first sergeant major route, because you guys gotta yell every now and again and let it out, but but for the most part, it's kind of the same type of principle on the enlisted side as well.
Yeah, it's So it's been I think if you ever stop studying leadership, that's where you can start going wrong, right? If you don't, if you remember those little green memo books, I've still got a stack of them of listening to speakers and things that and some of my bosses and peers, things that I like, wow, I need to steal that. That was awesome, or boy, I don't want to do that. So I made plenty of mistakes. I wish I could get some of them back. But I hope I'd learned from each one. Really tried not to make the same mistake twice. And it is about the people, right? I mean, we are unique. You're not. I think General Neller said this is we don't outfit, tanks and things like that, right? I mean, we outfit the Marine, we outfit the individual. This is all about the people, and that's what our strength is the individual Marine, and put them together, and nothing's going to beat them. So,
hey, sir, we got a listener from TikTok that has a question for you. He says, "What advice to give to a staff NCO?" I'm assuming he's still active duty at this point, but
and I'm assuming it's from a leadership perspective. For staff NCO, be the duty expert, and set the example. Delegate or power down, right? I think as General Mattis said, power down to the point at which you feel uncomfortable, then you probably got it right. I agree with that. Constantly teach, right? I mean, you're always teaching. You're teaching down and you're teaching up. Gunnery Sergeant Knox was my platoon sergeant at in 81s in the mortar platoon. Incredible mentor. I mean, I think he'd left DI school, Paris Island, there, and wow, what a professional! Just
was that Medi Knox, sir?
Gunny Knox? Did you say?
Was his first name Medi?
No,
no, different
Frank,
Knox.
Frank Knox.
Different Knox.
Frankie Knox, and he was just incredible mentor, and I think I had that at so many levels. I was just blessed to have such incredible, surrounded by incredible Marines and civilians. So yeah. And, I hope that helps. Continue to study, be the example. Can't take your pack off, right?
You haven't arrived. I don't think we ever arrive.
No, and that's right. You can't be satisfied, right? You got to continue. I think that's a great way to put it.
And kind of to add on to that, sir, since you did your company command or company level time also down at MCRD and the command in general of MCRD, I always tell everybody, especially that being down there in the drill field, whether you're an officer or a drill instructor, is the most efficient leadership duty you can do, because every 3 months you get to hone your leadership skills.
Absolutely.
And
it is it's a leadership academy, right?
It is.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Inspect, rehearse.
Yeah.
But supervise, inspect, and rehearse.
You have to listen too, though, because I saw a couple examples where if you're not going to listen, right? It doesn't mean you're gonna follow and all that, but just be open to the self critiques. So I usually had, as a series officer or company commander, the chiefs, they were unapologetic and unafraid to walk in and go, "Hey, sir, let's have a conversation." And even I got some great advice, like never walk onto a deck without your sergeant major as a commanding general. And I didn't necessarily adhere to that all the time. Because I lived on the depot, and so when you can't sleep at 3 a.m, what do? You go walk around.
You go walking around.
You go walking around.
But there's a reason there. You see things differently. You're just two different perspectives, and so incredible. That's a great point.
Yeah, you can't get your feelings hurt on the depot. That's for sure.
Oh no.
What a place for brutal honesty.
Yes.
At times.
Yes, always willing to critique. Much like time at 8th and I had a warrant officer, you would practice in a garage in front of a mirror for hours a day on your sword manual.
Yeah.
And then chief warrant officer would just, yep, Quincy, do it again.
Just tear you apart.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Making you the best. So, but
one of the other guys that comes on here regular, Aaron Davis, retired of Mass Arm, but he said I think he said you were his company commander at 8th and I. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Yeah. I can't look on my phone, but
oh no, that's
that
was the camaraderie there. If anybody's ever been to 8th and I to the barracks, and I would certainly recommend going into the officers club there, to Center House, that's what they call it. And that's every time I'd walk in there, I sort of envision what Tun Tavern, or what it was back in the 1800s or early 1900s in terms of just decor and the forums and the way sort of those types of evening events were. There's no, at least it wasn't when I was there. There's no cash exchange over the bars, all the honor system, and you paid at the end of the night or at the end of the week, sort of thing. Yeah. And everybody's just dressed and was really professional and enjoyed it. So it was a really tight group of officers there for sure.
Now, I'm curious about this because I've heard different outlooks on this. I've heard individuals say that I don't want to go to be a general because of the amount of time and amount of work that they have to do, which is a lot from what I've seen. And then the others are like, oh no, I'll just go for it and whatever. What advice, or what do you think? When you were in the position, how was it for you?
Oh yeah, you work, but you know that ahead of time, right? That I used same when Marine would get promoted to Sergeant Major or Master Gunnery Sergeant. You're different, right? You are the institution in many cases comes first, right? I mean, you're there not only for your leadership, and you got there for a whole variety of different reasons, but the institution is relying on you to not only achieve the mission, but to protect the institution. And so priorities have to change, and if you're unwilling to shift those priorities, then don't accept it, and get out, would be my recommendation. And I've talked about work-life balance. It's different, right? It's not. I don't expect people to work the hours that I do, but admittedly, there are so many other people so many others that are smarter than me. I think I had to work a little bit harder just to make up. But I never considered it work either. It was, when you're surrounded with such great people. I mean, I like to think, for 35 years, I never worked a day of those. It was just, you just got up. And I will tell you, in retirement, retirement's been a journey. The thing I yearn the most for is that people and purpose. And it's to be able to walk into, whether you're at a platoon level, company, battalion, component level, and you walk in that office or on that command deck, and there's a singular focus. Yeah. Right. I mean, everybody knows their role. Everybody's rowing, hopefully in the same direction. But they generally are. And it's been interesting to see. Now, obviously it happens out here in the private sector, but trying to find that right place where you feel that same sense of purpose has been exciting. It's been interesting for sure.
It's good to hear, especially as an enlisted guy, and then hearing from the general saying, hey, I struggle with this too, or I'm looking for that sense of purpose, and we're not by ourselves, right? A lot of us on this end, even junior Marines and stuff, they get out and they're like, well, I lost my purpose. I don't know what to do. And they're trying to find their way, type of thing. And it's just, I don't know. It's good to know that, even generals struggle with that at some point.
I've called a lot of those E9s that I talked about and just said, hey, how did you feel? The advice I got, we were doing an exercise with, I think it was 6 or 7 other combatant commands.
Mhm.
So I was the director of operations, so sleeping in my office on my isomat. And the exercise ended on Wednesday. I went home. I showered. I woke up on Thursday. I cleaned out my office. On Friday, I retired. Saturday was the retirement party. Sunday, I cleaned my base housing. Monday, the Packers show up. Tuesday, the movers showed up, and we headed to Massachusetts, and that was it. That's how it ended.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I can tell you a whole separate story on how well the move up to Massachusetts went, but that's and then people said take time off, and that was for me did not work. It didn't work for me. I hadn't thought about really again, my fault. I should have spent more time thinking what I wanted to do in the next chapter of my life. But I had to sort of rebuild the network and learn how to do the net. I've drank a lot of coffee over the last couple of months here in DC, meeting some phenomenal people, so willing to help. So that's been great. I've learned quite a bit about that. But again, just trying to find, and when you walk in, right, when you would walk on into a company area or a platoon, a battalion, right, you would get a feel almost automatically how tight the unit was.
Yeah.
What was the camaraderie? What was the feeling? And that's what I'm looking for. Looking to walk into a team where it's like, okay, yeah, I want to work for him or her or whatever. So.
Well, there's no working for anybody, but you're here. I don't know if you feel it. I'm feeling it, sir. I mean, I think you found a home right here. You're welcome anytime.
No.
So I can't pay you though.
And it's not about, right. I mean, none of us joined for the money in the first place.
Yeah.
But I still have a college education I got to pay for. We got one more to go. It's
good times there. Hey, this guy on TikTok, Chris, said this topic definitely hits home. So it's appreciated by some folks that are out there. So thanks for hitting that.
Yeah. And again, pay it forward. So for the Marines who are getting out, or if I can be a source or resource or bounce something off, I may not have the right answer, but if I can help, certainly willing to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, you guys got any questions or comments or anything? I know I've been asking most of the questions here, but
sure, I've got a couple actually. First, responsibility obviously between enlisted and officers are different. Some would argue that responsibilities for the officer is much heavier, especially once you get NJP authority and all that kind of stuff. Did you ever in your career feel like the burden of responsibility was too much?
No, I don't think so. In some examples and that I saw outside of the command, I would say it wasn't shared, right? In command climate, again, would be a good example, right? Ultimately, the commander owns it. He owns everything. He or she owns everything. And I get that. But if the relationship between the commander and the senior enlisted is not tight, and they don't have to be friends, but obviously they understand commander's intent and they're all rowing the mission in the same direction. If there were issues within the command from a climate perspective or something, like there is a shared responsibility in that, I would say, right? There's, again, ultimately the commander owns it, but I've seen some in which, there's in some cases perhaps, and again, I'd put it on the commander. Maybe he didn't explain it right or what have you, but I never felt it was too much. There were some days, where you didn't sleep, or you couldn't sleep because of what's going on racing through your head and that sort of thing. But the responsibility was never. And I had a great team. Somebody again, another mentor told me, you're responsible for training your staff. And part of that was not only to achieve the mission, be efficient, but was to help you make decisions, right? If they couldn't help you make decisions, then you were not going to be in a good way. So, but yeah, I never felt too overwhelmed to leave. No, interesting question. No, interesting.
My second question is now that you're retired, what is your relationship still with the federal government? There's a lot of mystery and smoke and mirror about what general officers can, able, and still do once they retire. So could you explain a little bit of that, sir?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, an excellent question is, so I still rely on my ethics lawyer, on a lawyer for the ethics review of anything that I'm interested in doing. But I have, as I understand it, 1 and 2 stars have I'll call it a 1-year cooling off period. So if I was to get hired or work for a particular company, I could not go back and sell that product or capability to, particularly in this case, Cyber Command or the Marine Corps. For me, I've expanded that, right? It's I look at it as all DoD, right? It's just not worth it to go in there. It gives a wrong perception. And I think I agree with the cooling off period, right? The whole perception piece is it's not right. So I agree. And so I've even I've been asked for they want your Rolodex, your connections, and I understand I understand business sort of thing. But being retired, what do I have to really protect or rely on is my reputation. And so that I am ruthlessly guarding as I work to find that next job. For the 3 and the 4 stars, it's more than a year. I wanted to say it was 2 or 3, but I can't recall. But you'll see, you'll see several general and flag officers when they retire. They'll be on an advisory board, both for-profit, nonprofit, public, private, and that sort of thing. Consulting. I've established, which has been also a journey for me. I've established like my own LLC as a way to sort of help me not only manage what I want to do, but it also helps separate and put some protection in there and make sure that mentally and physically and financially that I can sort of keep everything separate. So that's been good, but yeah, it's been.
So just out of curiosity, what's your LLC?
Don't laugh at the name. It's H3 Mission Integration. So the 3 comes from there's three of us left in the house. So me, my wife,
got it. Yeah.
But the idea is, I look to stay where I can help the security of the nation. That's national defense, the security of the nation, and obviously from a cyber perspective, we've got some significant hurdles and challenges ahead of us, and I'm passionate about it. I think I'm okay at it, and I can integrate authorities and platforms and people and things like that. But there's also the leadership piece of it, which the being a grunt for just over 20 years before going into cyber, I think was incredibly impactful on. I thought anyway. I'll leave others to judge my ability to lead and plan and execute within the cyber domain. But it's so I do think regardless of where you fall, the importance of leadership and the intangibles. And I still hold this truth is based off of my observations, right? I mean, when you see Marine cyber operators, they're different. They're different from any other service, just like they're different in any other domain. You can walk up to a Lance Corporal who's on a keyboard and ask him about the mission, and he's going to think about, what time did the troops who are forward deployed cross the line of departure, and when do I have to do what? I mean, it's the same, that mentality. They bring that shared adversity from boot camp and MCT or what have you. They bring all that with them, and it's strong and their ability to innovate, and they are aggressive. They
Nice.
are aggressive behind there because they still want to break and kill things, right? I mean, that's really what the Marines are for. So
That's true. That's true.
So
the whole cyber part of everything is, to me, is just, I don't know, it's like sci-fi for me. And then to say, okay, now there's a Space Force and all this different stuff. Now you kind of worked hand in hand or helped out with things with Space Force type stuff.
Yeah. So I was the Marine Corps component to Space Command. So Marine Forces Space Command. So I'll call it the forward headquarters for MAR 4 Space was co-located in Colorado with Space Command. And then obviously I was back with at Fort Meade. But yeah, that was, and boy, did they, I mean, the Marine Corps was sending some of its best into that field, and they were in high demand in the Joint Force. And we were doing things, the captain would show up and they'd get him trained, and within 6 months he's deployed and doing things that no other, very few in the Marine Corps will ever do or had ever done. So definitely blazing a path there. So again, and you can see it on the news every day, right? Cyber and space and information. So the ability to integrate all of those and understand the information, where's this coming from, and data and all that. It's been, I mean, cyber information as a war fighting domain. I mean, you're conducting maneuver, combined arms maneuver, combined arms planning. I mean, it's happening every day. Every day every day we talk about war fighting. Every single day at MAR 4 Cyber and MAR 4 Space and Information. It wasn't an unusual day in which you'd have a meeting with 4 different 4-star commanders and talk warfighting and requirements. It was just, fascinating domain. It's just getting more dynamic with artificial intelligence. And that's just, so how do we as a Marine Corps, be able to adapt and fight in that. So I'm also a commissioner on the, there's the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, has established a commission on a cyber service on the staff. So I'm a commissioner on that. So very much like the Space Force or, the Marine Corps, there's a group of us putting together sort of options if the president were to decide to stand up the Space Force or Cyber Force, that they'd have a playbook, something to start with. So maybe a year's worth of work. So I'm on that as well. Yeah, pretty exciting.
But that's I don't mean to cut you off, Andrew. That's one thing, sir, that we've actually talked on this podcast about this new generation. And I think we're all a bunch of old crusty old dudes, but we've literally sat and talked about this the new generation, the video gamers, and I don't mean it to put them down like that. That's not what I mean at all. But it's actually enlightening to listen to you talk about that. It's like, hey, this is the next generation of it's continuing a mission. They're the ones that are continue to fight, and it's something that I don't understand. I understand the concept and I understand what to a point what what is done, but it's interesting to listen to you talk about it. Is how let's stop looking down at some of these these younger guys, this new generation, because not guys, but Marines or whatever, and stop and look at the capabilities that they have, what they can do to defend this country, to protect this country, to keep everyone safe. I mean, it's mind-boggling to think about how much there is of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And maybe Mark can jump in and maybe future speakers, but there's very little of first phase of boot camp that I would change. That transformation is as critical today as it was, 100 years ago. The transformation is still a necessity, and going through that, I think, is absolutely critical. for Marines as riflemen, as warfighters. But I was always, and I would hear from a lot of lots of different generations. Is this generation as strong as we were, as strong as they need to be? And I would, at the time we had some folks that were testing and monitoring the physical fitness and during the crucible and things like that of both the drill instructors and the recruits. And by the time they got up to Camp Pendleton for second phase, they were moving 20 miles a day, carrying 65 to 100 pounds on their back, eating one meal a day. And, that's lucky if the drill instructors even got to eat, right? So, I mean, that's both. I think we clocked one drill instructor moving down during first phase, moving over 20 miles a day in quarter frames. Right, one time. So
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So, but I was always, rarely did I have senior drill instructor say any of those recruits should, any of his recruits or Marines as they come off the crucible should not graduate. And if they did,
Right.
they would go back into training. But so I am, I had a drill instructor say, my job is to train whoever shows up on those yellow footprints. And boy, did I run with that. That I ran with that banner. And they did the best. And I was, always impressed. And so I'm not concerned. To your point on, because the warfare is changing, right? That transformation has got to, continue, and you have to start to inject, what the operational environment is going to be as early as possible, because that's what they're going to find themselves in, right?
And I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people to understand is, with time comes change, and we've got to change. If you don't change, we're going to fail.
Yeah, I still think at some point you got to cross that last 300 yards, and you're going to have to stick somebody, right? That requirement will never go away in Heritage's opinion for the Marine Corps. But shaping those conditions and making sure that Marine is successful to do that, to close that, from a cyberspace and information perspective, that's what I used to drive all the time. Is one, you have to protect the network so you can shoot, move, and communicate. And the other thing is you have to bring those capabilities to bear in support of that, that young Lance Corporal PFC who is crossing that last 300 yards. You got to shape the environment before and after. So if you don't understand how that data works and moves and, be able to understand and write, algorithms and things like that. I mean, who would have thought we were talking about this, 10 years ago? So, what is AI going to look like 5 years from now? What's it going to look like a year from now?
Right.
I used to tell, when I got to Mar4 Cyber, probably after the first 6 months, I was telling folks, things change here about every 6 months. The operating environment, new capabilities, they're just constantly changing. By the time I retired, things were changing almost daily.
Yeah.
We were getting better. Adversaries were getting better. The environment was changing. How are we changing to meet both, stay ahead of the other? So you, again, and you have to be smart as a leader. That staff NCO question, right? Be a subject matter expert.
Right.
Your Marines are surrounded by artificial intelligence and information. How are we educating and training them to deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You're always always educating yourself, right? And
Absolutely.
Always learning. And that's why, even the Commandant's reading list and all the education that is pushed out for all the different ranks and stuff like that in the Marine Corps, I think is so important. And that just teaches a culture of continuing to learn. I don't know. I think that's huge in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And doesn't mean everybody's reading, the math behind the AI. Which, by the way, if you need to fall asleep, is a good way to do it.
Nice.
Yeah, but you got to diversify your reading, just like anything else, right? You got to, if you want to understand the environment, you're probably taking in a variety of different information streams and making your own assessment.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Anybody else got any questions or comments or anything before we? As we've been here about an hour or so, just a little over. But anybody have questions, comments?
I already asked mine.
All right.
Yeah. Only other thing I was going to say was it's refreshing, sir, to hear, how you were talking about. It always doesn't, how much you can learn. And I don't, when I say this, it's going to sound wrong, but, from the bottom up, you can learn just as much as from the person below you as you can from the person above you.
Yeah.
And, it's the way you talk and how you've talked about everything with your career. It's actually refreshing to hear how you had that relationship. And that's actually not something most get to see or actually get to understand. So for you to talk about that, it's really interesting. I appreciated hearing it.
No, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I still tell folks if it wasn't for Lance Corporals, I think I would have got out a long time ago.
I like it.
I think they're the best problem solvers around, right there. So,
yeah,
incredible.
You got to have that E3 mafia out there taking care of business. So
yeah, that's no joke. Well, before we wrap it up, I do want to tell a quick story, if you don't mind, General. So when I was at 2nd Marine Division Band, you were at 6th Marines. We were going to go to Belleau Wood. We've been working. I was talking to the Sergeant Major, doing different things, and I was having a rough go. We were doing foster care adoption and stuff like that. And, I don't want to get too far into it and stuff, but the Sergeant Major was like, oh, hey, the Colonel, hey, go talk to him. And I was like, what? So he brought me over, set me down in front of you, and thank you for taking the time to just sit down and discuss and give me sound advice and stuff like that to somebody you had no clue who I was, didn't know me from Adam. So I appreciate that. That was some awesome stuff. So that's a mark of a leader right there.
And I will pass it on. As I mentioned, I'll pass it on to Chris, and she says hello. And yeah, but thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, heck, sir, this is something we do at the end of every single podcast, right? We go around and we give these words of wisdom, and so I always shotgun the guest because I think it's fun. So I'll let Vic go first, and Mike, and then we'll let you go because the Sergeant Major has to bring up the end. Tell in Charlie, he's got the humdinger at the end every time. So I don't know. It's something about a Sergeant Major and giving speeches or something. I don't know what's going on, but he does a good job at the end. So if you're good with that, we can jump into it, sir.
No, I'm good.
All right. Words of wisdom it is. All right, Vic, words of wisdom, man. What do you got?
Well, in line with the general's theme of education, humans are like bicycles. If you're not moving towards a goal, you fall over.
Oh, that was good. Look at you coming in with something strong right off the bat. Man, holy cow. All right, Mike, what do you got?
Well, this one was actually, I was listening to another podcast. Excuse me, Andrew.
How dare you?
I know. But they were talking about exactly what the general's talking about with AI and, with Chat GPT and everything now. And the one woman on the podcast said that she has a relationship with her Chat GPT. She actually has a name for it. But she said she always sits there and asks the questions. And finally, she was like, I'm tired of this. Why don't you ask me questions? And the question Chat GPT asked her, and it's not so much a quote, but it's actually something when I sat and thought about it after I heard it, I was like, wow. Who are you when no one else is in the room? Are you the same person? Are you fake? Or are you true to what you are?
Wow. Okay.
I never really thought about it. When you stop and think about it, who are you when no one else is in the room and can see you, basically, is what it's saying. And I was like, I don't know. It really makes you stop and think. And I was like, wow, okay.
It's one of those you look in the mirror at yourself and it's painful sometimes. You know?
Well, that's the point of it. That's what
Yeah.
I'm getting at is like, okay, well, am I actually what I put off to other people,
Mm-hmm.
or am I fake? Am I, you know,
Yeah. That's good questions.
fake it
I
till
would
you
say
make it kind
you're.
of personality, or it's like, I don't know.
I don't think you're fake.
Yeah,
I don't think so. My humble opinion, though.
wasn't much of a quote, but it was more of a stop and think kind of thing. So
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. And now, of course, we got to put the general on the spot here. So I'm excited.
No, I'd say two things. One off of Mike's comment, it makes me think about the value of humility. Humility is not a weakness. It's something perhaps that we could all refine, and there's a time for it. So I think the value of humility is one. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't go back sort of to the times of today and what we think, in the next 2 to 3 years. We are in incredibly challenging times. From a variety and pressed with a variety of different threats. The value of the Marine Corps, the importance of the transformation that we talked about, I think is as important today, and something that we have to continue to uphold and maintain those standards and discipline. And the fact that this is the 250th year anniversary birthday, given those challenges, I think it's a good opportunity for all of us to recommit, as I mentioned, and here to pay it forward for those that sort of that next generation that's making its way through. So
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it, AJ, and to the team for this opportunity, and I wish you all the best. Semper Fi.
Absolutely, sir. And I don't care what Sergeant Major retired Mark O'Loughlin says about you. I think you're the man. Just throw that out there. But no, I've had a blast with you on here. Thanks for coming on and putting up with my shenanigans and having a good time. I enjoyed it. So if anything, I got something out of it. So thank you.
Well, that's good.
All right, we're down toward the end here. We got the Sergeant Major. He's coming in last, bringing up in the rear with the gear, something like that. What do you got? You got a humdinger, Mark?
Well, we'll see. I'm going to echo off some of what the general said about the unknown and the cyber, and the general said with his LLC keeping the country safe.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote the great General George Patton. He said, "In war, the only sure defense is the offense, and the efficiency of the offense depends on the warlike souls of those conducting it."
That's awesome. Yeah. Leave it to the Sergeant Major. He always brings
that's
it
why
in
he's the Sergeant Major. That's why he's
I know. There's a reason I'm the Master Guns, because I can't think of any good comments. So I always just have you guys do it. Because usually by this time in the podcast, my mind's a little gone. So, it's all
well.
good.
The other side of that too, Andrew, is you don't read. The Sergeant Major reads. The rest of us don't read.
True.
So
It is difficult to read sometimes. For us Oklahoma boys, minus Vic, apparently, it's difficult.
I read quite a bit. It's usually
I said
like
minus you. I gave you your props there, Mr. OU. I got you. Don't worry. All right. Awesome. Hey, sir, thanks for coming on and doing this. I truly appreciate it. You are more than welcome to come back anytime. I'll give you the recording schedule, and anytime you want to pop in, you're more than welcome. But I had a good time. Hopefully everybody else had a good time here. But definitely. Mark, Vic, Mike, you guys rock.
Absolutely.
I don't care what the general says about you. So
again, I appreciate it. And if I can help, just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, sir, don't hang up on me. I'm going to go through the outro here. So don't hang up. I'll bring us back whenever I'm done. But to all the listeners out there, if you're struggling, you need help, anything like that, don't forget the VA has some great resources. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on that chat icon. Any of those options will put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about it. excuse me, I care about you. The general cares about you. The crew cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, reach out to a buddy you serve with, ask them how they're doing. And if they need a helping hand, please give it to them. All right, one last time. Thank you, everyone. I truly appreciate it. To all the listeners, stay motivated. Change your socks.
No more 22. On to the journey and finish the fight.